This is episode 127 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 127 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have Wilson Pabon on the show, and Wilson is a relatively new investor, but he's hit the ground running and he's doing it so well that the best term I can describe it with is life hacking. So Wilson's not afraid to make big moves. Right now he's started in Milton. He was investing in London and in the area. And he decided when all of this stuff happened and he could no longer find good cash flow here in Ontario, that he was going to look into Edmonton. And he decided that it actually made more sense for him to move to Edmonton. And he's still going to distance manage his properties here in Ontario and fly back when needed. But he was willing to make the move. He's willing to find a house out in Edmonton and house hack, and he's going to get great cash flow. So his current deal that he just bought, we go through the numbers there and see just how much of an opportunity Edmonton seems to be right now. Now, I'm not making any recommendations, but I know I've spoken about it openly on this podcast that I do think Alberta is a real opportunity right now. Who knows what the future holds, but I do like the prospects of the price point relative to the other provinces. And then of course, oil is bound to rebound at some point, in my opinion. So it was a really interesting conversation with Wilson. He puts his money and his lifestyle where his mouth is, and he makes the moves needed so that he can achieve his goals. And a lot of people talk big, but they don't actually back it up with action. So I really, really appreciated seeing this from Wilson and finally getting a chance to connect with him one-on-one on the podcast. If you're new to the podcast and some of the terminology is new to you, I would suggest it's a great idea to go right back to episode 1 of this podcast and work your way right through. We've had so many fantastic guests, and it really is a university education worth of information coming from people who actually do it. They're on the ground, they're in the trenches, doing real estate investing and succeeding at it. If you have not already done so, please take a moment and rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell if you have not already done so, and go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let Wilson know what you think of his story. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Please enjoy episode 127 with Wilson Pabon. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Wilson Pabon. Did I say that right?
Sounds about right.
He's on the show. He's going to pronounce it correctly for us in a second here. But Wilson, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me here, man. It's my greatest pleasure to be here.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, pronounce that last name correctly for me.
So, I mean, if you wanted with the Spanish accent, it would be Pabon. But, I mean, people call me Pabon. People call me Pabon. Hey, just call me, right?
Just call me, yeah.
That's it.
So, Wilson, we've messaged and kind of been in touch for quite a while now. And I think this is relatively early in your real estate journey. Do you mind just bringing me up to speed where you started and kind of your story in real estate so far?
Yeah. So, I'm going to start from the beginning, I guess. I'm from Colombia, and I had the blessing to be able to be raised there until I was 15. Now coming here, the reason why I bring that up is coming here, I'm able to see the difference that this country has to offer, right? Compared to a country where if you want to be successful, it's who you know, not what you know. Compared to bringing that over here, a country where if you really try, you will make it. Growing up in this country, having that vision that, hey, I really got to find a way to be able to be successful, because being in this country, you know that, Andrew, it's a lottery, and you got to take advantage of this. So all these years, I've been thinking, how can I be successful? Every time I see somebody successful, in a house, the car, whatever, the lifestyle, how can I get there? How can I get there? I started regular public employee, secure job, pension. You do overtime, you'll live a good life. Didn't take much to realize that that's not the dream, right? Thanks to the pandemic, I was able to have more time on my hands. And I came across this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think many people, that's where their journey actually starts. From there, something clicked in me, right? Like, this is the way. I think this is the way. This makes sense. I started researching into podcasts, and that's how I came across you. My wife and I, we devoured your podcast, man. I would say the first 10, 15 episodes one day. And that's when we decided, hey, let's at least be thankful for the work Andrew is doing. And that's where we started connecting, because you were, or you still are, I'm not sure, investing in London, right?
Yeah, I still do have some stuff in London. Sold a bit of it, but
I know.
And you bought some stuff there as well, correct?
Yeah, correct. So we wanted to stay as close to home. We live in Milton. We used to live in Milton. But then you saw the Cambridge, Kitchener-Waterloo, the prices, how they started to creep up. You start seeing the ripple effect. We ended up in London, and we came across this property. And I think I brought that up to you at the very beginning. I'm like, hey, listen, what do you think of Oldies Village? And that's where we started connecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Oldies Village is coming around a lot. It used to be kind of an inferior neighborhood, but now it's just, it's so close to downtown, right? Proximity is a big reason why I like that area, and Soho too. Even though Soho is like really not that nice, but it's so close to downtown, and naturally it was going to get pushed up in value. So you're really just started from the beginning of the pandemic. That's where you started investing. Is that right?
Well, that's where I started just investing my time, pretty much just researching. Mm-hmm. We started researching. We realized that we had to purchase a house in Milton. We had been living there for 2.5 years, and we had double our money, thanks to Ontario. Yeah. We wanted to take, opportunity to be able to put that money to work, but we didn't want to sell the house. So we refinanced. And that's one of the first mistakes we did, not the refinancing part, but when we had this money, we just had this fear of missing out. We had to, once we got the money, we had to invest in anything, something quickly. So we ended up purchasing a pre-construction condo in a great location in Mississauga. The problem with that was that our original goal was, let's get into real estate for cash flow. And as you know, Andrew, pre-construction doesn't really bring a lot of cash flow. It brings a lot of equity, or it has the potential to bring a lot of equity. So being caught on that fear of missing out, well, it happened. We learned. And from there, we started saying, okay, what is going to bring us a lot of cash flow? And that's when we ended up buying in London. Single home, 1930s built, 26 days in the market in a time where houses would sell in 5 days. Reason why was, we walked in and you could smell the cat urine. And, those realtors that just spray some perfume and they think that fixed it. I think that's why a lot of people didn't really put any offers at all. But my wife and I, we saw the opportunity. We decided to just convert it into 2 units, multi-unit. And that's where the journey began. We encountered many problems. And thanks to our network that we had built up at the time with you, Gary Hibbert, Colton Lukey, we were able to pull through a lot of challenges at the early beginning.
Yeah. And did you get into other properties in London as well?
No. So we purchased this one. We set the money aside for the renovations. We wanted to buy the next one. But unfortunately, because we had that pre-construction signed in, it caught up to us. And our mortgage broker pretty much said, listen, you guys only pre-approved for $400,000. At this time now, we're talking about early spring this year. And the price of London had gotten to a point that the rent just wouldn't cash flow those properties.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people have to come to that realization. Of course, those with the shiny ball or shiny object syndrome who just have FOMO and don't want to miss out, they're going to just invest anyway, even though they can't see how it fits in the bigger picture. And I like that you brought that up. You got to be able to see how it fits with your goal. And so many people I've spoken with early on, they don't know. Like, they're just like, hey, Andrew, do you think I should buy a condo, or do you think I should buy a rental property? I'm like, that entirely depends. What's your goal? Like, what are you trying to do? What are you willing to commit to it? Because if you can't find a way to fit what your capabilities and knowledge and skill set are with your goals, with the means that you have financially, if you can't find a way to find like a true fit with all those elements, then I think that's where people get themselves into trouble. So I like that you picked up on that fairly early.
And unfortunately,
so how did you pivot?
What do you mean?
How did you pivot? So London wasn't going to be the option. So what did you do next?
Yeah, so we started looking into different markets. I think at that time we were speaking, you said you brought up Florida. I wanted to invest in Canada just to have a strong foundation in a country where I live in. We started researching to different provinces. We came across PEI being a province that facilitates the permanent residence. It's a province where a lot of immigration comes through into the country. I mean, I don't want to bring that up, but I want to focus on the real estate part that's a market that will be benefited from immigration once the borders reopen up, right? The problem with PEI was that in order for us to be able to go there, we had to be pre-approved and quarantined for 14 days. Mm-hmm. So, okay, that wouldn't work with what our timeline looked like. So second best province we looked at, Alberta.
So the cash flow actually looked better in PEI though, for you, like for rent?
The cash flow looked better. Mind you, the purchase price of the properties was also lower. So cash flow ratio wise was better, but it was also lower purchase price, lower cash flow.
Mm-hmm. So you would have had to buy more properties to make up what you're looking for. Give me an example, because I've never heard anyone talk about PEI. Like, could you buy a detached house for under 200 grand in PEI?
The ones we saw in the city, just like about 10 minutes from the downtown, they were in the high 200s, somewhere in the 315, 330, depending on the age, depending on stuff. We wanted to do the same, what we just did in London, buy the older one, single home, and then renovate it or make it into two dwellings. We didn't research that much into it just because it was pretty obvious that we were not going to be able to go there. It's just that the market was what really called us, was what really caught our attention, just knowing that the immigration flow influx was going to be there.
How did you know that about immigration and how it's more likely to get a permanent residency or a residency, I guess temporary residency or permanent residency?
That's a good question. I don't remember how I knew that. I think I came across on the news.
Yeah. Okay. So I love it when people combine those factors, right? Like, why is it that people would want to be there? And it's not necessarily that PEI itself is drawing people there, but if the government provides incentive for people to go there, then you can stand to benefit.
Correct. Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm not an immigration professional or anything, but I do know that PEI has an incentive for immigrants to come and work. And I believe if you invest a certain amount of money into the province within 6 months, I believe you can be a permanent resident of Canada. You don't have to stay there, from my knowledge. You don't have to stay there, but you start there. So I know a lot of immigration goes through PEI, having that, all those people, they need, a place to live.
Interesting. And you mentioned a city. What city is there in PEI?
Charlottetown. There's also Summerside. That was the second biggest one.
Charlottetown. How big is that? Like, are these big cities or?
Not. I mean, what's big, right? For the province, it's big, but for us,
like 10,000 people, you think, something like that?
I believe Charlottetown had 50,000, and Somerville had somewhere around 30,000.
Okay, or Summerside here. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Never ever been there, but maybe once they open up all the restrictions, it'd actually be kind of cool to go out that way.
It's a place to go, yeah.
Okay, so then your search took you to Alberta, which I know I've spoken about. A lot of people are onto Alberta now. Lately, what did you see? What did you like? And what have you done?
I mean, many things we liked. Where do I start? The economy, for example, it's an economy, as you know, that the price of houses haven't really gone up. If anything, they have slightly go down for the past almost 10 years. But it's also an economy that's based on oil. Now, I don't know if you know this, but when my research, 2020 was the year where most cars were sold. I believe that was worldwide. And we saw the exodus from the downtowns. My logic dictates all these people who moved out of the downtown are now commuting, who didn't used to drive. And a lot of office work, which is done in the downtown, these corporations have leases that they're not 3 or 5 years. We're talking about 10, 15, 20-year leases. They're not going to let that go to waste. Eventually, we will have to go back to work. People will have to go back to the downtown to work. The consumption of oil that we see, that I foresee, I'm not the only one, that is about to happen. And actually, it already started happening. You see the price of oil creeping up. It's something that will benefit the province of Alberta big time. That's from one side that we liked. The other thing that we liked about Alberta was just the rules, right? The tenancy laws. Some people call it they're more landlord friendly. I wouldn't say landlord friendly. I would just say that they're more even. They're fair. It's a fair game there compared to Ontario, where you're at the mercy of the tenants pretty much. Seeing those two, and then seeing the purchase price, we focus now on Edmonton. The purchase price of Edmonton and the rental price of Edmonton, the cash flow that generates, it's significant. And our goal being cash flow, that just aligns with our goals.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've heard a lot of people getting a lot of cash flow in Edmonton. I even thought about putting some money out that way many years ago. And because it's been like this for a while, you've been able to get good cash flow there. So did you did buy something? I think I saw a story on your Instagram. Did you just buy one, or you buy multiple? What's the story?
So we bought two semi-detached, both sides. They were on one title, 40 days on the market. They ended up purchasing both sides. Each one has a basement unit, so it's technically 4 doors, if you want to call it.
Okay.
We ended up purchasing that a month ago. We're closing next week. We purchased that for $578.
Okay. Maybe we should run some numbers on your on what your deal is going to look like, so people can get an idea. So you bought it for $578.
Yep, so $578, $500.
Okay, 578, $500. And okay, your what are you expecting for your improvements?
So that property needs a roofing. It needs a new furnace. That's about it. Okay,
so probably like maybe 15,000 worst case, 10,000, something like that.
Yeah, we're budgeting for a $15,000 roof, just because it's two houses technically.
Okay.
And the furnace is about $7,000. So we're thinking somewhere around the $25,000 max.
Okay, we'll call it 25 worst case. So so your purchase and improvements are going to total. So just building my spreadsheet here as I go. Okay, you're going to be about 603 all in. And are you going to try and refi, or no? You're just going to?
No, we're not going to refi.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. We're expecting to see an increase in. I mean, if the economy does go up, we're expecting to see the price appreciation go up year to year. And I don't like to compare year to year, just because last year was pandemic, but it's somewhere around the 10% year over year. Eventually, we will.
Right. Okay. Now let's look at your monthly rents. What are you expecting to get? Are there already tenants in there, or are you going to be adding tenants?
There are tenants already in there. Unfortunately, one of them is moving out the next day after we take ownership. But it's $1,350 for the main floor and $1,050 for the basement on each side.
Oh, okay. So you have 4 apartments total. Okay,
yeah. It's both sides of the semi-detached.
Okay, I missed that. So 1,050 times 2 as well. So 1,350 times 2, 1,050 times 2. So your gross rent is 4,800.
Correct.
And your purchases, you're approximately $600,000. So decent rent ratio. It's not 1% rule, but it's not bad. No. And yeah, let's work through some of these other numbers. So taxes, what do you think you're going to be into?
The taxes were $3,600.
Okay, and then insurance for that?
We just got it back, $3,200.
$3,200. And maintenance, I'm going to leave that at 5%. Are you going to have a manager working for you?
No, we are actually going to be moving to Edmonton.
Oh, you're moving?
Yeah. So we sold our house in Milton, and we were able to use that money to purchase this one.
Okay.
Buy low, sell high, I guess.
Okay, so are you moving into one of these units?
No.
You're going to rent something, or something?
We're going to be purchasing with the refinancing of London, and that second one, that's the one we're going to be living in, and we're going to house hack.
Nice. Okay, so you're going to have like a duplex, and you'll live in one end and then rent out the other.
Hopefully, we'll be able to afford a 4-plex. We're just going to wait to hear on the refinancing of London. Worst case scenario, we buy a duplex, we live in one. Best case scenario, we buy a 4-plex.
And we're going to dig into that and like see the complete picture of how that fits with your life. And I'm interested in that. Okay, so no management, then you're going to self-manage that.
Correct.
Common utilities, are you paying anything? Paying water?
Pretty much paying everything. We got statements from the previous year. They run at $7,000.
$7,000 for the year. Okay. Yep. And you're going to have some landscaping, I'm guessing?
Actually, the tenants are responsible for the landscaping.
Okay. So then just outside of that, are we just maintenance or, well, sorry, just miscellaneous? Maybe you have some accounting fees or something like that associated with the
Correct.
property, banking fees. I usually just throw $500 to just cover like the whatever costs.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm seeing a cap rate for you of 6.99. So for those who aren't familiar with cap rates, that's a rate of return calculated pre-financing, and 6.99 cap rate in Alberta, that compares against, like in Ontario, that same product's going to get closer to like a 4. You're probably buying it less than a 4 because everybody in Ontario prices what it could be. So they say, well, it could be a 5 cap or it could be a 4.5 cap. Never mind that you're buying it at 2.5%. You go replace the tenants and do the work, and then you can get that good cap rate. So now, the nice thing here is you can actually get right off the bat, you can get a pretty decent return.
Yeah. No. Here's the kicker. This property does not have garages. It only has a rear laneway driveway for the vehicles. Now, garages in Alberta, they're a must. Like, they're high demand. You know, it's a little bit cold there. So our idea is to build a garage. We got a quote for $25,000 to host 4 vehicles. Each one would rent, the market value is about $200 a car.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah,
that's pretty great return. So $25,000 investment, we can just calculate a quick return on that. So you're going to be $200 a month times 4. So $800 a month for that.
That's the potential that we see.
Okay. So that's $9,600 a year on a $25,000 investment. So even if you fund that with just cash, that's a 38% return on your money. Where else can you invest your money and get 38%?
Exactly.
So that's a pretty great return. I mean, of course, in real estate, our equity is going up and making us look more like we're getting more return than that. But that's a pretty predictable, I mean, especially if that's market rent right now. So props to you for doing the research and having that available. But if if you didn't do that, let's just finish these numbers off. So 80% would be 462,800. If you're getting a 30-year amortization, which I'm assuming you are.
Yeah.
What's your interest rate?
2%. Back when we did the numbers, we just assumed at 3%, but 2%.
Okay. 2% even?
Yeah.
Okay. So your cash flow on that is $16.59 a month, which sounds like a dream to people in Ontario. They don't hear those kind of numbers much.
Yeah.
So we'll throw, let's look at the overall breakdown of these numbers. So in terms of annual mortgage pay down on that, you're going to be about $12,000 a year, $60,000 over the 5-year term. You are going to have, so a total pay down of $12,000, and then you've got a annual appreciation. If we said even 2%, which we know it's going to be more than that. I mean, we don't know anything, but I'm pretty confident. Pretty confident. And then we've got an annual cash flow of just short of $20,000. So your return on your investment is approximately, because I have a total investment here of about 125. You're a bit more. You're more like 135. So let's say that you're 32% return on investment on that deal. Not doing a BRRRR, not doing a refi, none of that stuff. Just going in. Yeah. You know, it's no secret, or it's no surprise, we'll say, that people are wanting to go out to Edmonton right now, going out to Alberta in general.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's, yes, a lot of people want to, but at the same time, a lot of people, because of the long distance, they hold back.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So how are you doing this job-wise? How are you able to just move to Edmonton?
So, I mean, we sold our house here in Milton just because of the high value of it. And we saw that we could put those dollars to work harder somewhere else. So we sold that over there. We are now renting a 1-bedroom condo. The way we're doing it is we're going to refinance London, which actually today finally closed construction that started in October. We're going to be able to refinance that, use that money to buy another property as an investment with 20% down payment. Get jobs. We're applying for jobs from here.
Oh, okay. So your financing is the thing that you got to think about, right? So you've qualified for financing in Edmonton based on having jobs here.
Thanks.
What's the positioning with the financiers?
I'm not going to confirm or deny any information here.
No, I mean, I know there's like, coming from the broker world, there's a lot of ways you got to position things, right? Yep. Like at first it's a secondary home in Alberta, and then that secondary home could become a primary home, right? So as a secondary home, you can get it approved as long as your ratios work. What line of work are you in?
So my wife and I, we do caretaking into the school boards.
Okay.
So yeah, we deal everything from the mechanical to the cleaning to the sanitizing of schools.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're
Yeah.
both in that business, and you'll be pursuing that business as well out in Alberta?
Yes. And the reason why, it's because these jobs, I mean, they're secure. You have the pension, you have the benefits. That's awesome. But also, being a public employee is no secret to anybody. Public employees, it gives us the flexibility to be able to deal with the business at the same time as we're working.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that flexibility, that time allowance that we get from this type of industry to be able to focus on the investment side.
Okay. Yeah, definitely a little bit more flex when you're a public employee, it would seem. I've never been in that position, but I guess the bigger picture is what I'm curious about. Like, what did you see? Like, what was your goal? Like you said, it was cash flow, but what did you want to be able to do? What was your bigger picture for that? And I can see right here, you're going to have about $1,600 coming in from this one property. You're going to buy your home. You're going to have some more cash flow. Maybe you'll even be in a net like zero living situation where it doesn't cost you anything. Tell me a little bit about what the goal was and how this all fits.
So when we started, we pretty much, we read this book, and we actually talked to people, well, the rich dad poor dad, and we started thinking, if we were God, how would life look like? And then you start talking about the house in Oakville or Mississauga Road, which are high-end areas, and driving the Ferraris and this and that. Okay, cool, that's all material, awesome. Now, how would family look like? What would life with family look like? Well, be able to spend more time, like being able to, to be at work for 30 years, missing a lot of time in our life. When we started digging into the what would life would be perfect as, we came to the conclusion that in order to live this perfect life that we dreamed of, we would need a total of $15,000 cash flow a month. Okay. So we divided that into, let's assume a $200 per door cash flow. Okay, boom, we need 75 doors. So that was the original intention back before we even invested on anything. Unfortunately, the pre-construction does not align to our lifestyle that we want. So we learned from that. We jumped into London, which we really liked those numbers there. But then when we wanted to buy the second one, we realized that the cash flow in Ontario is not going to get us there as quick. And that's what when we looked into Edmonton and we were able to see these numbers of cash flow, we were like, okay, let's sacrifice the next couple of years. Let's move over there. Let's build our cash flow, our foundation there. And at that point, if the sacrifice that it takes is to go there, then we'll go there, right? So that's the original intention.
Okay, so you're thinking 15,000 family wise. So it's just you and your wife right now, or do you have family here that you're going to be leaving for a while?
I have my whole family here. She has her whole family here. We're living them. I don't want to say we're not leaving them behind. Because we have the property here in London as well. It's actually cheaper to fly back and forth one person than it is to a month than it is to actually pay property management. So we're going to keep managing the property in London here. So we're going to be traveling back and forth. We're going to see family. It's not leaving them behind.
Okay.
But it is a sacrifice that we're taking, which is going there by ourselves.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to do these things. Like, so many people don't have the bravery to step out and do something like that so bold, right? I mean, everyone wants to be near their families, and I know that challenge, right? Like, there's no question that's a big part of it. But my family, I kind of come from a different place with that, because when I was like 10 or 9, my oldest brother went off to school in Toronto. We lived in Tillsonburg, and then my other brother moved out like 3 years later, and he moved to Alberta and has never moved back since. And my sister moved out to Vancouver and Alberta, and like my family's just spread so far. And then my brother's living in Ottawa now. So everybody's got to do their thing, right? So I think
exactly
that's great. And then you can still come back, you can still visit, and
exactly
sounds like you will be around anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that we change our ideas so quickly. I mean, I can tell you, we're not going to stay in Alberta. That's how I see it today. Who knows? In 5 years, maybe we are organized there and we stay, or we might go to PEI. I don't know, right?
So you're open-minded about it. So your wife isn't going to restrict it. You guys are on the same plan with this.
We are on the same plan, and that's something that also adds up to the equation as to that positions us in a better position or in an easier position to be able to transition. It's we're both in sync. We both see our goals align with each other's dreams, and that helps us that both of us pull the same way, which not many people can do that, right?
Yeah, you're usually going to get at least some resistance there.
Exactly.
Moving away, moving all over the place. I mean, you're going to have some cold weather in Edmonton. I don't know how long you're going to be able to tolerate that.
We'll see. I come from from tropical country, so we'll see.
Quite the change. You're going to polar opposite, no pun intended there with the polar part, but a little bit. Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. So you're going to have $1,600 there. What's your cash flow on the London one going to look like?
After refinancing, we're hoping, not hoping, we're expecting, being conservatively speaking, around the $650-ish cash flow.
That's solid cash flow in London, I find. Usually most of my properties are around that 600, unless it's a really good one, and then it's more. Yeah, so that's good. So you're about $2,000 there, and then you have the pre-construction one coming, which you could sell and then use that to generate more cash flow.
Correct.
So you're working towards your goal. And then in the meantime, your job will fill in the difference as you continue to build this portfolio.
Correct. We're all cards. All of our cards are all in, right? So we do see the opportunity that Alberta has, and coming from Ontario, seeing what is involved in investing in Alberta. One of our future goals is to be able to open up, like a company to help Ontario investors invest in Alberta or do the transition of moving to Alberta.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot that want to invest there right now, right? I can only imagine that there's going to be lots of people who want to JV with you hearing about these numbers, not wanting to go to Alberta. I mean, that right there is an opportunity. When
we went to Alberta, if I had the unlimited amount of money, oh my God, the amount of properties that we saw with these similar numbers, they're there.
They're there, huh? That's it. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not opposed to it. Do you know for somebody from Ontario what changes from a tax filing standpoint, or is it just the same return that you file in Ontario?
That's a good question. I have no idea when it comes to taxes. I spoke to my accountant. He said he has no problems filing taxes from Alberta with properties from Alberta.
Yeah, I guess it's just a different address on the form, and then a portion of your taxes go to the government of Alberta for that property.
Correct.
Yeah, as long as your accountant can handle it.
Yeah. Okay,
so you're into the game for what, 16 months or so since you brought, I guess you bought your pre-construction before that.
Yeah. Well, we bought pre-construction back in September, so we've been technically investing since September.
Okay, so September
2020.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're moving quick. Wilson, what do you see as the next move after you buy your home out there in Alberta? What's the next move as you see it right now?
Yeah. So we're going to refinance London, like I said, buy the next investment house where we're going to house hack in. With the cash flow, we're just going to save it, down payment 5% for the next house where we're going to house hack again.
Yeah, so just keep moving into the other one to take advantage of the 5% down. Moving
at this point, that's correct. We're also, like I said, we're also going to be opening the option to be able to help and assist Ontario investors to invest in Alberta or transition to Alberta. So that's going to be another project that we have.
So that'll be a side business for you, and then in addition to both of you working as well. Okay, and then one day living the perfect dream, not working anymore. Got your $15,000 cash flow.
Well, be our own boss, right? I mean, all we're trying to do here is it's not even the money side. This money's not a motivation strong enough to be able to go through all of this. It's more of the being able to buy time back.
Yeah.
That's the only commodity that we cannot create. I mean, anybody can go get a second job, third job, overtime, and make more money. But how do you make more time?
Dude, I don't know. All I find myself feeling these days is no one can buy my time. Like I can't. I'm so hesitant to commit to anything that would involve my time. And it's one thing to deliver a result if I know it's something well within my capability to do,
of course,
reasonably quickly. But That's the trick with getting older. I used to be more okay with that. Just grind it down. Now everything's got to be efficiency. Tell
me about it. Before, I guess when you're younger, you just see life is so long. You have so much life left that, I mean, wasting time here, wasting time there, or exchanging time for money, when in reality it would equal the same as exchanging gold for silver.
Yeah. Okay, so any thoughts, words of wisdom that you'd want to share with anyone thinking about getting started or thinking about transitioning into the Alberta market? Like, what are some words of wisdom you want to leave on our viewers and listeners here?
I would tell your viewers, listen, be honest with yourself. Find your why you're doing this, and not just your why, but as other investors have said, go deeper into why do you want to do that, and why do you want to do that, and why do you want to do that. This will just strengthen your roots as to, this is going to give you a reason to wake up every day and be able to go through this, because I can tell you all of these beautiful numbers, but as you know, in reality, the delays we got in the city of London, the bureaucracy we have had to deal with, we have had to deal with some problems in the construction that, if you don't have a really strong why, these things are just going to put you down and just not make you meet. So just focus on your why, and before you do any move, see how that move is going to align with your goal. Don't just do something for the sake of doing it because everybody else is doing it. No, how is this specific move going to benefit you?
It's so important. So important. And so few people getting started think about that. They just want to get going. Oh, everybody else is buying properties, I need to do that. They don't know. They don't see the fact that they had the story in their head. They had the vision in their head.
And network big time. The amount of help we got from everybody, including you, Andrew. So many followers you have in the thousands. And for you to actually reply every time, I was like, hey, Andrew, the city of London said this, or they don't want to do that. And you're like, hey, no, do this, do that. I'm like, Jesus Christ. You don't get anything by that, right? But networking has been key.
I wish I could do more of it. I'm by no means perfect at responding to people, but you're in my main inbox already, so it pops up there. But
I appreciate it, man.
Well, it's nice chatting with you. I've enjoyed kind of watching your persistence with it. I know you're on it, and you've been very gung ho about it. And it was clear that you were determined, which is why I wanted to have you on the podcast. And you're ready to put your money and your lifestyle where your mouth is. Move, do what it takes. We do have a shortage of people willing to do that kind of thing, and in this country. So it's nice to see people like you taking action and getting stuff done. Just a side note, because you mentioned it, how long did you wait for your permit in London?
Oh boy! So we requested the permit back in October, right when everything was starting to shut down again for the fall time. We didn't get our permit issued until the end of February.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So time is money. And this is one of those things. And I've told the story before why I would apply for permits before I closed on properties, because I knew how long the city could take if they wanted to. They're supposed to get back to you in two weeks. And I suppose what they told you after the 2 weeks was, oh, you forgot to put a dot on the top of that I. So we need you to resubmit this package with the dot there. And that stops the clock.
And that's it.
That stops the clock. And then they have they tell you they have no mandate as to when they have to get back to you.
It started moving right when I started contacting the city councilors. When I started being that little pebble inside a shoe, that's when things started to move forward.
And that was what I told you, I think, when we talked about this. Like, you have to find a way, no matter how frustrated you are, whoever's listening or watching, no matter how frustrated you are, make sure that you're the most polite person on the face of the earth. You're kind, polite, respectful, and just annoying, but all those other things too, like politely annoying. And, I would call, hi, how are you today? I really just wanted to check and see how things are going with that. Do you have any time frame? And I would be very careful not to push people. And the amount of things you can get done by being polite and respectful and persistent is crazy. My big thing is, if you're dealing with people, it's the 3 times a day, call, leave a message. And, oh, hey, John, just trying to reach you again. Not sure if you're getting my voicemail, so I'll follow up with you at noon, okay? And then you hang on the phone call back at noon, and you say, oh, I'm not sure if you got it. I'll follow up with you at 4. Before they know it, they've got like 6 voicemails on their phone from you.
Yeah.
They're like, I better call this guy back. And
quick tip: smile when you make those messages. Smile.
Yeah.
Just putting a smile on you puts a friendly tone of voice.
Yeah, exactly. Fixes your tone of voice. Yeah, you got to be very careful. Never be like upset with people. They just won't call you back at all. If you scold them, if you say, do you realize what you're costing me here or something, they'll just ignore you. So there's no gain there, unfortunately. Anyways,
lessons you learn through this journey, man.
Not that I'm perfect. I've definitely like lost, got a little frustrated with people, and I apologize. I'm like, hey, no criticism. I understand you're going through a lot. I understand you're busy. How can we work together? Can you help me? And that seems to help. So anyways, that's good for today. Wilson, really appreciate you doing this. If people wanted to reach you or follow you and see all that hustle, where do we send them?
The best place would be Instagram, Wilson.RealEI. That's my handout. And we can connect.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll get those links, and we'll get this episode posted. And thanks again.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me here, man.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks. I'll see you on the next one.